There's a saying down in Harlan County, a place where the mountains hold secrets darker than the coal they're made of. If you see the lights in the mine, don't follow them back. For a long time, I thought it was just another ghost story, the kind old-timers tell to spook outsiders. But after what I experienced deep in the tunnels beneath Black Mountain, I know the truth. Purnell never doubts the warnings of those old miners again. It all started when I came down to Harlan to shoot a documentary. My focus was on the region's lost mines, the ones that were suddenly abandoned after the terrible explosions back in the 1940s. These weren't just closures. Entire shafts were sealed shut overnight, trapping everything and everyone inside. Whole crews of men gone in a flash. Even today, the locals still speak in hushed tones about Mine 12. They say the fire in that mine burned for 3 days straight, a subterranean inferno that nothing could extinguish. No one ever went back in, at least no one living. The first time I heard about the lights, I was sitting in a dusty diner just outside of town. An old man, his face a roadmap of wrinkles from a lifetime in the sun and cold, leaned over the counter. His voice was raspy, low. He said, "Son, if you hear singing in the mine, you run. And if you see the lights, you just pray they don't see you first." I couldn't help but chuckle and dismiss it as local folklore. That was my first mistake. That laugh didn't last long. A week later, after navigating a mountain of red tape, I finally got permission to explore the old shaft entrance near Clover Fork. As I stepped inside, the air immediately changed. It was thick with the smell of rust and damp earth, but underneath it all was the unmistakable, powdery scent of coal dust, a smell that had lingered for almost a century. The ground beneath my boots was soft and wet, the kind of mud that swallows your footprints whole, erasing any sign you were ever there. The deeper I ventured into the darkness, the more the silence pressed in on me. It was an unnatural quiet. Even the sound of my own breathing felt wrong, like an intrusion. The air grew heavy, almost difficult to pull into my lungs. And that's when I saw it. Far down the tunnel, a faint, ethereal glow. At first, I rationalized it away. Maybe it was my own flashlight reflecting off a piece of metal or a patch of wet rock. But then I switched my light off, plunging myself into total blackness. The glow remained, and it was moving. The light pulsed, shifting from a soft, ghostly blue to a stark white, before fading almost to nothing, only to pulse again. It had a strange, almost human-like shape, as if it were a lantern being carried slowly, deliberately, through the suffocating dark. My heart hammered against my ribs, but my filmmaker's curiosity took over. I cupped my hands around my mouth and called out, "Hello, is anyone there?" The only answer was the echo of my own voice, quickly swallowed by the immense silence. Then the air shifted again. A low, resonant hum began to vibrate through the rock around me. It sounded like distant, ancient machinery groaning back to life after decades of sleep. And then I heard the singing. It was faint at first, just a single man's voice, humming a sad, old mountain tune. The kind of melody you'd imagined miners whistling to pass the time in the deep. But as the light drew closer, the sound grew louder, and I realized with a jolt of terror It wasn't just one voice, it was dozens. A choir of men, singing in perfect, sorrowful harmony, as if they were still down here, still on their shift, still trying to dig their way out of their tomb. My modern equipment started to fail. The display on my camera began flickering erratically, and the battery indicator plummeted as if the life was being drained right out of it. That's when I felt the cold. It wasn't the damped chill of a cave. This was a profound, biting cold that cut right through my layers of clothing. A cold so intense it felt like standing in a walk-in freezer with no skin or bones. The lights were brighter now, no longer a single point, but a scattered constellation. And through the gloom, I could finally see veiled shapes, human forms, each glowing with that same faint blue light. Their faces were smudged with soot, their eyes hollow and black like empty sockets. They were miners, hundreds of them, walking in slow, methodical lines through the tunnel, their spectral headlamps still glowing long after their deaths. One of them stopped just a few feet away from me. It turned its head slowly. I was frozen, paralyzed by a fear so pure I couldn't even scream. Its mouth opened, as if it was trying to speak, but what came out wasn't words. It was a low, guttural groan, a deep, cracking sound, like the groaning of the earth itself right before a cave. And then the ground began to tremble beneath my feet. Dust and small pebbles rained down from the ceiling. That's what finally broke the spell. I turned and ran, scrambling over loose rock, my lungs burning. Behind me, I could hear the horrifyingly clear sound of pickaxes striking stone. It was rhythmic, steady, and getting louder. And cutting through that terrible sound, I heard a single, desperate shout. A man's voice, full of panic. Get out. The fire. Then absolute silence. I didn't stop running until I burst out into the daylight, collapsing against the hillside, gasping for air, my body trembling uncontrollably. When I finally managed to look back, the mine entrance was gone. It had completely vanished, sealed by a fresh wall of rock and earth, as if it had never been open in the first place. Later that night, I checked my footage. Most of it was just static, corrupted and useless. But there was a single 2-second clip that survived. It was a shot looking down the dark tunnel, and in it you could see them faint blue lights floating towards the camera lens. Dozens of them, getting closer and closer until they filled the entire frame. Then the screen went black, but as the static hissed, I could hear a single clear voice whisper through the speaker. It said, "We're still digging. Thanks for joining me on this terrifying journey. If you enjoy stories from the shadows, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss what is coming next. Stay safe out there."